So it is 12 o'clock, and as promised, I'm here today to chat to you with Anita from Fit for Two about things you need to know about exercise for pregnancy, birth preparation, and a stronger postnatal recovery. So, hi everyone, I'm Rebecca McQueen. I'm from Versus Australia, and I'm happy to have you along as we discuss this really important topic and everything you need to know so you can approach it safely in the postnatal period and pregnancy and for birth, as I said. So I'm joined with Anita, who's been a midwife and nurse for over 12 years and is a certified pregnancy and fitness for mums trainer. She's also the proud owner, as I said, of Fit for Two. So Anita, you've got two beautiful children, Nico and Alex, and you've told me how passionate you are about empowering women throughout their journey from conception into pregnancy and motherhood. With safe fitness and education, you've got a team of health specialists around you. It's fantastic. Hello, welcome, and I'm so happy to have you today.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and to be able to educate more women into the understanding of how safe exercise is in pregnancy and how women need to consider more for themselves. It's really important.
Oh, it's brilliant. Well, you know, we all hear about the benefits of exercise, and we know it's really well studied, we just know intuitively too how much better you feel after moving. I've just been out with my son out the back doing a bit of basketball before we've got on this live to get the cogs all turning.
Yep.
And your well-being is improved. But can you run through what the specific benefits are of exercise from conception to the postnatal period?
Sure. So basically, we really recommend women, when they're trying to conceive, at least 6 months before wanting to have a baby, to even start considering exercise is number one. As we know, there's lots of health benefits in exercise for anyone overall, whether they're pregnant or not. And the recommendations are that we all should be doing at least 30 minutes of exercise every single day of the week, and we should be at least doing some strength training in that time too, obviously to strengthen bones. In conception, women, obviously stress is normally a very high marker when they're trying to get pregnant, and we know that stress affects infertility. So exercise obviously is very important for those girls to make sure that they are reducing stress levels in their lives. They're wanting to increase energy stores in their bodies, and overall just mental health and well-being is really important for that point to the conception. So we do encourage it from at least 6 months prior if you're planning to get pregnant, to start your process then. When we come into pregnancy, there are some girls who are very affected by pregnancy in the first trimester, and others don't even know that they're really pregnant. So it depends on the symptoms that they've been having. But again, it is perfectly safe for anyone who is pregnant if they don't have any real restrictive complication. I'm talking about someone who may have had multiple miscarriages, or they got bleeding, like something that's going to stop them from exercise. It's perfectly safe for every girl to be going out and doing exercise in pregnancy, but we generally recommend that you need to be doing it with a safe trainer. So obviously there's lots of PTs and everybody out there who can definitely train a pregnant woman, but to what degree of what their understanding is of what they want you to be doing is another question. So obviously in the pregnancy period, we want to focus that we are looking after your mental health and well-being, that we're getting you nice and strong for your pregnancy. Obviously, we want to reduce chances of diabetes, reducing blood pressure, reducing fluid retention. We want to improve your sleep. We want to improve your mood. We also just want you just to be associating with other women. Like, we want you to be exercising with like-minded women like you, who you can relate to and not feel isolated. Like, I see the other girl who's pregnant in a gym, and they're just there purely by themselves. They don't know what they're doing, and they've got no one to connect to and ask questions. So it's really important that in that pregnancy period that we're all working together as women wanting to have babies. I've got women who are in my program who are trying to conceive, and they can see what the pregnancy girls are going through and why is it so important that they need to be doing their exercises early to start. But carrying that through to the birth period, obviously we want to make sure our women are nice and strong when it comes to birth. And that doesn't make a difference whether you are wanting to have a C-section or you have a vaginal delivery. Your body's still going to go through a massive toll. So like I say to my girls, if you were going to go do a marathon, you're going to train for weeks to months before that so you can run that marathon. Labour and birth is exactly the same. You've got to get that stamina up. You've got to get that mental stability in. It's a mind over matter game. But the girls who do their strength training throughout the pregnancy period do so much better. Their body is really well adapted for that labour process if they're going to go through labour. They tolerate pain better. they have less analgesia, their interventions are generally less, they labour a lot quicker, and then they bounce back a lot quicker after as well. So when I say bounce back, it's not about getting your pre-baby body back. We don't talk in that aspect, but girls get up and move. So the best thing I hear from my girls, especially if they've had a C-section, the hospital's like, why are you up and moving so quickly? You should still be in bed. They're like, well, I've been exercising until date. I've got leg strength. I don't have much pain. I want to get up and move. That's really good for me. That's what I've been doing in my pregnancy. So to hear that sort of rapport and what women, other people are recognizing as health professionals, like how important exercise is and the benefits of it, women just get up and do what they need to do now instead of lying in bed, because lying in bed after having a baby is not the best thing to be doing, especially if you want to minimize the chance of getting blood clots. And like, we're healthy women when we're having babies. We're not sick. So we don't want to be treated as a sick person. We've just had a baby. And yes, there's a lot going on, but in the first 6 weeks post-birth, obviously that's the biggest rest period for my women, and I don't push them to do very much in that time. And I don't expect anyone to go out running or starting a strength training program in the first 6 weeks post-baby. That's the time about rest, recuperation, bonding with your baby, establishing breastfeeding if that's what you're doing, getting through that time period. And that's the time where we just talk about, pelvic floor rehabilitation, very basic exercises that we teach in the pregnancy period, so women know how to carry that through. Then after 6 weeks is when we say to the girls, that's the time we'd like you to come back to the program. So we're trying to minimise chance of isolation and P&D. And we do know that with exercise, it minimises chances of P&D and isolation. So we want to make sure that we're keeping connected with those women as much as we can to reduce those chances. And if they are experiencing it, they've got a network of people around them that can support them. Because sometimes people feel they can't talk to family or they can't talk to their partner all the time, but they can talk to a group of women. So we want to make sure we've got that connection process, and then just getting them back into it nice and slowly after having the baby. So the benefits across the board are huge overall. And the benefits are just not for the mother, they're for the baby as well. So they generally say that when women exercise, babies tolerate labour and birth better as well, because they've been through the strength training process of their mother. Heart rate goes up and down, and it's perfectly fine to push yourself in pregnancy. We don't go by heart rate levels, we go by level of exertion now. So babies have been known to tolerate labour more effectively through stressful periods, generally for a mother who tends to exercise in the pregnancy. So there's a wide range of benefits. And also women who exercise in pregnancy tend to have leaner babies, which is a good thing, because we don't want to have two big babies when we're pushing out. So 3.5 is the average weight of a baby being born. They tend to be leaner and longer. So it generally makes it easier for that labour and birth process as well. But obviously when women have gestational diabetes, we want to make sure they're really exercising, because we want to keep their sugars under control as much as we can. We want to minimise the weight gain in the pregnancy. And then obviously that helps to keep it, generally sometimes keep the baby's weight down as well, because the insulin isn't turning over so quick. So it is great when I hear girls say, I've only put on a small amount of weight in the pregnancy and the baby's growing nicely because they've been moving throughout the pregnancy and they don't have as much fluid retention, things like that towards the end. So yeah, I can't stress enough how important it is for women to get up and move in their pregnancy and start to reap all those benefits. And if somebody is saying to you, do not exercise in your pregnancy, the question is why? Why are they telling you not to do it? Is it because they don't have the knowledge about why or what all the benefits are? Because I get a lot of poor excuses from some girls where doctors will say, oh, it's just not recommended, you should just go walk. Well, why can't you strength train in your pregnancy? What's stopping you from wanting to do something like that? Sometimes walking is not the best thing for somebody who's got in pregnancy, who's got hip pain, groin pain. It aggravates them even more, but they can do strength and stability training with me, no problems whatsoever. So yeah, there's a lot that women have to look into, Rebecca. Like it's an ongoing talk, but for me being a midwife, understanding what the body goes through, I know what to look out for with my girls. I've got the qualifications behind pregnancy training, post-mums training. Yeah, you've got, obviously I can definitely say to girls, well, no, that's a silly reason why you can't exercise, or no, you can't exercise because of these reasons. Whereas a lot of trainers out there won't have that pure knowledge running behind them because they don't have a midwifery degree. So,
that's right. Yeah. And sorry, I was going to just, I mean, you've said so much in that answer, and there's so many ways I wanted to spin off with other questions. But do you think that, you know, damage can actually be done if women go to a trainer that really doesn't have that women's health experience or extra qualifications? It can do more harm than good, can't it?
Correct. Yeah. So when we come to pregnancy alone, there's two things that we really focus on. And one is teaching women how to activate their pelvic floor correctly. We know in pregnancy that is going to put pressure down to your pelvic floor no matter what, because you've got weight of the baby, you've got weight of yourself growing. So hypothetically, if you put on 15 kilos in your pregnancy and your body's not used to it, that's an additional 15 kilos sitting down on your pelvic floor that's not used to it. So if we're not learning to lift up the pelvic floor correctly, particularly if we're loading with weights, let alone we're loading in the pregnancy, we can put pressure down through to the pelvic floor, which then increases chance of incontinence in pregnancy, which is not normal. Can I say that again? Is not normal. Women, there's so much literature out there that says peeing yourself when you're pregnant is okay. It's not okay. It's not normal. So women who generally in a first time pregnancy, women will tend to get away with pelvic floor issues generally. When they've had the baby, the issues tend to start to arise either after the baby or the issues start as soon as they fall pregnant the second time around. And then they're like, why didn't I do something the first pregnancy? So it's really important that we teach about pelvic floor activation the right way. And then if women don't understand, obviously we connect with women's health physios to make sure they are seeing a women's health physio, getting that internal assessment done when they're pregnant, learning how to activate properly and release and get the breathing process happening. So that's our biggest number one that we focus on with us at Fit for Two. Secondly, we teach women about activating their lower transverse abdominals properly, which is to help minimize that abdominal separation in pregnancy. Then they know then how to heal it properly after having a baby. So between those two connection points with the breathing, the women learn to understand how to stabilize their body better for movements. And it's not about how hard you can push your exercises or your body. It's about how well can you control it and stabilize your body, which is really important. So if you went to a basic trainer who knew nothing about pelvic floor, and I can tell you now, when you do your fitness training to become a PT, they don't really teach you in there about pelvic floor and women's health whatsoever. So if you're not going to go do additional qualifications, you're not learning anything. And you want to make sure that somebody is talking to you properly about how to activate pelvic floor with load and that, because if you're going to go lift, say, a 10-kilo dumbbell and you can't activate your pelvic floor, that's an additional 10 kilos you've just put down onto your pelvic floor, plus your baby weight when you're growing. So they're two big things that if they're not talking to you about those, especially pelvic floor being number one, they're not the right trainer, that you should be out of there straight away. Two, your PT should always be working with a women's health physio. And again, if they're not connected, again, I'd say be getting out of there. And the biggest thing, number three, is if they're not doing a medical clearance with you and finding out about your pregnancy and what's going on, and even your past pregnancies and the type of births and everything you've had, again, that's not the right person for you to be with. So you can create a lot of damage in your pregnancy, and you may not think that you are doing it, and you may get away with it during the pregnancy, but you're going to get the consequences down the track after having the baby. Because straight after women have babies, I tell them you've got to go back to activating your pelvic floor within 24 hours. It's a healing process, especially if you've had a vaginal delivery. Everything has stretched. If you had an episiotomy or a tear, we've cut through the muscle layers. We've got to repair that by doing pelvic floor activation. It helps the healing process. And when girls don't understand that, they're taking a lot of steps backwards. Yeah. And that's something we could have resolved in the pregnancy. The other thing, when women don't understand about pelvic floor, it can create issues for birth. So if a woman had what we call, say, a hypertonic pelvic floor, or and it's a pelvic floor that's stuck at the top and it doesn't want to let go, that can create issues for women trying for vaginal delivery, because the pelvic floor doesn't know how to relax. So that can cause issues of then women ending up with seizures, because they didn't know how to relax the pelvic floor down. They didn't see a women's health physio in their pregnancy. And these are the things that we assess with you when you are pregnant to find out what is going on, because you should be feeling a full lift and a full drop process of your pelvic floor. One, if you don't even know what your pelvic floor is, or you don't even know where it's located or what it feels like, then we must be getting you to a women's health physio. Yeah. That I can't stress enough. So that's a big difference between me and another general PT, and especially probably if you saw a male, nothing against males, if they're not trained in pregnancy or women's health care properly, you're not going to get that information generally out of them.
No.
So can't stress that enough, that go and see a good trainer in your pregnancy. It's all about the quality of the service that you're going to get. I know price can be very, for a lot of people, but this is a very special time in your life, and you don't want to be making the situation worse. You want to enhance your pregnancy as much as you can, get the benefits out of it, and then know that you're going to reap those benefits for the rest of your life, because sometimes you take the easy road now, you're going to pay the heavy road later.
That's exactly right. What you've just said then is just so valuable in itself. And even if women just say, actually, great, I didn't know any of that, that is gold information to just set the scene of the difference between someone who's got pregnancy, women's health experience versus a generalist, which is great for general needs. But this is, as you said, such a time of change, a transition to women's bodies, that they really do need that specialist type of care. And what I love about what you're saying too is, yes, it's the physical side of things that you're keeping an eye on, but you're also providing a community of women to come together if things aren't right, if perhaps there's some P&D, or you're looking at the woman holistically, which is brilliant. And I, of course, have a bit of a passion about mental health, because I'm a perinatal mental health nurse. And one thing I've learned is, yes, that movement can be a great preventative measure against developing PND. But some of the studies are showing too, and you've probably heard this, Anita, that exercise can be very effective, in fact, as effective as antidepressants in mild to moderate depression.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, so I've heard of girls who have got off medication by doing regular exercise, making the time for themselves. And this is where I can't stress the point enough, is that women need to put themselves first, specifically in the conception, the pregnancy, and the post-birth stage, specifically in the first year post-baby. They need to put that time aside for them. All you need is anywhere from 20 minutes to 1 hour a day. There's so much you can even just do in 20 minutes. Even if it's just 20 minutes of some exercise and time out for you, it's better than nothing. But when women are putting everybody else in their family first before them, of course, the P&D starts to increase, the isolation starts to increase. But when I hear girls who have made that time, say 7 o'clock every morning before my baby wakes, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do half an hour of exercise, and then they've told me they've got off medication, it's absolutely amazing, because they've shown that their system can control itself by doing that exercise, to give themselves those good endorphins that they require, and to bring the stress load down, and it helps them to prepare for the day better. So I totally agree with you, Rebecca. Like, there's just so many benefits. It's just amazing, and women just need to, can't stress it, so women just need to put themselves first.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's about, look, if mum goes down, the whole family goes down.
Absolutely.
So even if women have that bit of guilt of, oh, I can't take that time out for me, well, then do it for your family.
That's right. Yep. Even this morning, one of my girls was like, I'm so tired. And I'm just like, you're here. You've done your exercise. Go home now and have a rest and take some time out for you. Because we may be women, and sometimes we've got the superpowers that we can do everything we think we can do. But at the end of the day, if your body is fatigued, take time out. Take 10 minutes. Take an hour if you can. Go get a massage. Be honest with your partner, or if you're a single mum, scream out for help. Ask other people, I need some time for me. Can you take my child today to help me? Or, can someone make a dish for me? Like, anything. Like, I think women are so scared these days to ask for help. They feel like they've got to do everything, and they don't need to do everything. And I've learnt the hard way. I'm a single mum myself. I've learnt the hard way of doing it. But sometimes when things happen in life and you realise, I've really got to start listening and using people around me. And my mum passed away in December last year, and my biggest community is my girls. And when they turned and said, if you need anything, we're all here for you, to take your children, to cook your meal or anything, that's community support. That's a tribe who's solid behind you. And that's what I build with my girls, that we're not just here as a number. I don't treat any of my girls as a number. We're here as a connected group. And that's why they stay with me for a very long time, because you're not going to get that in a gym environment
No.
half the time. You're not going to get that in a boot camp, because we connect through chat groups and things like that. We do outings, and, you know, it's just about, supporting each other and putting each other first. And as I say, bring the children with you to training. We're all about mums and kids, and there's no to anything. If I need to hold the baby for the whole entire class, I'll do that so you can exercise. It's not about me, it's about you. But yeah.
You've really created a community there, and it's bigger than the exercise. The exercise is important.
It is.
I love that.
Community and women reaching out, and if they need to release their headspace that day, it's going to make them feel better for the rest of the day, go for it, vent. We're all women here, free space, doesn't leave the room, let it out if you need to. But it is more than just a class at the end of the day.
It is. It's connection, and that's one of the big ways that we can all maintain our well-being.
Absolutely.
So good on you for creating that.
Thank you.
Tell me, and I want to say to you, I'm sorry to hear that you lost your mum, as we're talking about mums. So, and I'm really happy that you have that community around you to nurture you too.
Thank you.
So, Anita, you've spoken about, you know, different exercises and things you can do. Some women can walk, some women can strength train, some women can, you know, do cartwheels.
Correct.
What are the best exercises for pregnancy and the postpartum?
Sure. So when it comes down to pregnancy, we generally recommend that women need to strength train at least 3 times a week, realistically. 1 day is not enough. I don't even think 2 days is enough. I think 3 at least, and then do some cardio exercise around that. And look, there's no perfect exercise for anyone to do if you're going to go down to exercise specifically. Everyone's completely different as to what their body can tolerate. I'm very strict on guidelines with my girls in pregnancy in the first 6 months, meaning like I'm not going to give them abdominal crunches. We know that's a no, because that increases chances of abdominal separation. I always just make sure that when my girls are pregnant, that they're staying in safe levels for their abdominals. They're not putting excess pressure down to the pelvic floor. Obviously, I don't get girls doing really wide-legged exercises after the 2nd trimester, because that can increase chances in their groins. So there's lots of parameters I start to bring in. Like if girls have got hip, back, groin pain, they stay in general squats. They want to do wide squats. And these are the things, would another trainer know to vary your exercises if you came and said, I've got this, this, and this? Can they change it for you? So when women go, oh, I'm in the 2nd trimester, what exercises are right in the 2nd? I go, well, technically you can do anything that everybody else is doing, except when you're 20 weeks pregnant, you don't exercise on your back anymore. You can do the other modifications to the exercise. So if I had someone doing an exercise flat on their back, like a glute bridge, which is safe for everybody to do, and a pregnant woman could easily do a glute bridge on a football or a chair, but she wouldn't lie flat on her back because otherwise it's too long on her back. Another girl may not be able to do that, and she'll be on an all fours exercise and replicating exactly what we're doing in another position. But my pregnant girls can do anything up until they give birth, as long as they don't have any complications. So there's an even big talk about women should not do single-legged exercises in their pregnancy. Well, if you don't have any aches or pains, you can do it, because balance is really important. So balance is great for everybody at any age, whether you're pregnant or not. So if my girls can do it, they do it. If they've got aches and pains, I give them the modification version for them to be kept safe, that they're not going to exacerbate their pains. If someone's got back pain, that's generally a sign that they've got most likely got a weak pelvic floor. And this is another reason why we want to understand pelvic floor training. Probably their abdominals are weak. So that's where we create that stability environment of making women understand how to stabilize their body during exercise patterns. And it's not about running around the room and how fast we can push. It's about just controlling every single exercise. So there's no list of what are the top 5 exercises or anything like that. I like to mix it up, give my girls variety. I focus on strength training through weights, through bands. We use booty bands as well, the ones that go around your legs. We do balance exercises. We do football training. We do functional training. Upper and lower exercises. I try to mimic movements of what mums are going to do after having babies, like picking babies up off the floor. We're picking up prams and all those sort of things. So we really want to focus that we work the upper and lower part of the body. all the time through our classes, because that's what we do as mums. We're moving around all the time, moving up and lower all the time, picking up kids, teaching them how to squat properly, to get their babies off the floor, how to bend over properly, how to activate their core so they're not going to get a back pain issue. So there's no real strict rules. I just find that the more that I can strength train them correctly and modify as needed, they do so much better. And speaking to osteos and physios and general Pilates instructors, they will generally say a basic Pilates or yoga is not enough in pregnancy. You've got to be doing some strength training. It's good to have some lighthearted stuff, but it's really important to get some good strength training in if you can. And then again, doing your cardio. And I say to girls, well, if you can't walk, go swim in the pool. Go to a hydro pool and walk in the pool with a bit of resistance training. There's still lots we can be doing. Unless you're on strict bed rest, reap the benefits and take it as much as you can. Yeah, there's heaps out there.
There is. Do you apply that principle of there are no rules to running as well?
I'm not a running specialist. However, I am an affiliate of a team called Body Beyond Baby. And some of the girls in our affiliate team know more about running post-baby and during pregnancy. The rule generally around it is that if you have been doing it prior to pregnancy, say someone was a runner 3 times a week and they did it up until their pregnancy, fell pregnant, didn't feel great in the first trimester, wanted to start running again, I would generally say if you've been doing it prior, start off with the basic walk, jog, and then build your process up if you feel like it. There are girls who keep running the whole way through to a degree of maybe the late second trimester and go, nah, I feel too heavy with the baby, I don't want to do it anymore. Obviously, if you're starting to experience pelvic floor issues, then we generally really recommend you stop running. Obviously, if there's ligament pain, back pain, hip pain, there are reasons not to do running in your pregnancy, because obviously the relaxin softens all your ligaments as well. Post-baby, if girls have not done any running during the pregnancy, at 6 to 8 weeks, I'll always recommend my girls, no matter what, to have a checkup with the women's health physio. From there, I would get them to talk to the women's health physio about returning to running, because it all comes down to the impact of their pelvic floor and what's happened during the pregnancy period. So I'll get them to work closely. And then if they definitely want to go back to running, work with a specific running group who knows about pregnancy and post-birth mums, just because I've seen women go too hard too soon after and then end up with incontinence issues. So I've got nothing against running as long as they've been doing it prior, but it's not something new. I know they say don't ever start something new in your pregnancy if you've never done it before. Running is one I would definitely not recommend people to start if not done it before. Strength training, you definitely can, because we start off very light and it's all about working at your own body, your own fitness levels. I can have girls who've never done any exercise for years to girls who exercise all the time in the program, and they just start at different levels. And it's perfectly fine to be doing something like that because you're under guidance of a trainer. But if you're running just going outside and not knowing what you're doing, or have never ran before, you can put more impact through to the body. So it's not something then I'd recommend to start if you know nothing about running in your pregnancy or your post-birth period. There's still a lot of recovery and things we just have to watch out, especially for your hips and the relaxin and things like that in your pregnancy. Yeah.
You've mentioned a few things that I would imagine are the safety concerns that you would have as top of mind. So all that relaxin going around the body is something to keep in mind. But what are the specific safety considerations that you think are the most important things to really have, right there? Yep.
In pregnancy specifically, if we're relating it to exercise, and obviously we say after 16 to 20 weeks, the latest, you should not be doing exercise on your back, flat on your back on the floor. That can put pressure through to mum, obviously, and then affect the baby. So that's one big no-no. The other safety thing is obviously we like to protect your abdominals. So we obviously don't recommend crunches. Even if a girl came in at 8 weeks in pregnancy, I don't give her any crunches to do. They don't even exist in my program, because there's so much more you can be doing safely through proper pelvic floor and transverse abdominal activation to help tone the abdominals safely. Safety precautions, if we've got to talk, going back, say, to general, say, midwifery things, like if my client started having a bleed, I'll be like, you ring me, you don't turn up to your classes. If you've broken your waters, if there's just a whole range of midwifery things that I would put guidelines to them, and a lot of them are specified in our paperwork just to keep them safe and understand. Even it's something like if they haven't felt the baby move. Well, I don't want you at class. I want you in the hospital getting checked out. I want you to make sure that your baby's okay. So it's not, for my program, it's not just about safety precautions in exercise. It's also safety precautions about what is their body doing overall when they're pregnant specifically. And even post-baby, if mum's not feeling well or mastitis or breastfeeding issues, again, it's always about the mum getting checked out. I'll never put my class in front of their care. It's their number one. Their body has to be looked at, what's going on. And if we can bring them back safely to a class, we do. And if they then need to be on bed rest, we understand the reasons why they need to be on bed rest for the safety of that baby, especially if they're pregnant. So in exercise, as I said earlier, it's just about knowing when they can and can't be on their back, making sure we've got safe modifications for them, that if they do have any specific issues in the pregnancy, that we can modify and keep them active and moving throughout the program. And then obviously we will also talk about compression wear with our girls as well. So in pregnancy, they can wear an SRC garment to also help keep them active. When I was pregnant with both my kids, I suffered from quite severe symptoms of pubis dysfunction, which is the hormone related in the groin area. And if I didn't have my compression wear on, I was basically at a non-walk, could have been bedridden, especially my second pregnancy. But staying active, we know, and my obstetrician was all for it. Stay active as much as you can, exercise, go in the pool, wear your compression wear. And that's what really makes a big difference for girls when they're pregnant, when they've got that support behind them, specifically from their doctors, OBs, midwives, things like that. Those women go that little bit extra mile in that pregnancy and recover a lot better after. So, and even after baby's born, we recommend the recovery compression wear. So again, those women are rehabilitating safely in the first 6 weeks. We're helping with pelvic floor. We're helping with healing their abdominal separation. And again, then wearing them for the first 3 months, because we want to make sure we get them back to being active again as soon as we can and healing the body as much as possible. So it doesn't always just come down to exercise for me. It's an overall holistic approach to make sure that I'm looking after them properly from the inside out.
Yep, yeah, I'm certainly getting that. It's fantastic. And one thing that we did speak about was, and you mentioned this earlier, how exercise can benefit women for birth preparation. So can you tell us a little bit more around how exercise benefits that side of things?
Yeah. So basically, the biggest reason why I started my business was when I was working as a midwife, and I still do work in the birth suite. I was looking at women going, well, she exercises and her labor was really good. Like, you know, she had basic pain relief if she needed it. She got up and moved really easily. The labor was really short. And then I look at someone who did absolutely nothing in their pregnancy and their labors were really long. And the more research I started to do was like, no, I can actually help women to become really active in their pregnancy, strength train, and reap the benefits of it on the other side. So when I had my 2 children and I was stunned by my first one of only being a 2.5-hour labor, I was like, oh my God, like really? The average labor for a first one is 24 hours. And then when I was strength training my girls, majority of them were all delivering under 10 hours with their first. So that was a huge milestone for me to realize, no, this is really true, that women do so much better when their bodies are active than sitting around and doing nothing in the pregnancy. So most girls would tend to report that they don't tend to go to the epidurals unless it ends up being a long labor because the baby's not in the right position or something. So less analgesia. They just cope so much better. Their headspace is just amazing. They just breathe through the contractions better. They learn to relax their bodies. Intervention is generally less. Most girls don't tend to be induced. Or if they are, then we don't tend to use as much of like forceps and vacuum extractions because they've got that strength to help push a baby out. And they just get up and move so much easier. It's really interesting, women who are active, it's great to see them like they just get out of the bath really quickly, or they get off the bed and they move really nicely, whereas others are getting their husbands to pull them off the beds because they can't physically move themselves. So to see a woman who's 40 weeks pregnant just do everything on her own is amazing. Yes, we need the help when we need the help, but to see them just move that little bit easier for themselves and not rely on somebody else all the time, it just shows the strength benefits that women can get during that pregnancy period that really shows the benefits in the birth process. And even when I was labouring with my second and I was fully dilated and they're like, oh my gosh, she's going to deliver in the bath, I just got up and walked out, and they're like, but you're 41 weeks pregnant, how did you just get out of the bath like that? And I'm like, well, I've got leg strength, I've got arm strength, I just got up and got out. Not that hard between a contraction, is it? So I know, look, everyone's different, but yeah, look, the comments that I get back from my girls about how well they just feel after having the baby and how they just get up and move, and the nurses and the midwives that can't believe it compared to what other people don't do, it just shows there's proof in the pudding that exercise has too many benefits.
It makes sense. It does in every other aspect of life. Why wouldn't it in pregnancy and for birth? Yeah.
And the healing process is just so much easier and more effective for those women. So they actually say that every baby you have takes up to 2 years to recover from having a baby. That's the new research. So the more you can do in the first 6 months of your recovery, the quicker your obviously overall recovery is going to be. So for women who don't do anything at all in the first 6 months, that means eating well, rest, exercise, working your pelvic floor, they're the ones who are going to take the longer period for their bodies to recuperate. And that's generally why they say don't have babies too close together. And they want you to have at least a 2-year break in between if you can. So your body's getting that chance to rejuvenate itself and heal. And there's a lot of healing that needs to be done from the inside out. It's not something that's going to happen in 5 minutes. You've grown a baby for 9 months. Women need to understand that it's going to take 9 to 12 months minimum before things are going to start to change on the other side. Yes, you can lose all the baby weight very quickly, but what's happening internally that still needs to be repaired and put back together, or your pelvic floor needs to work on, or your abdominals need to be worked on. And abdominal separation doesn't go away in 5 minutes either. That takes days of work to do to bring that separation back together, depending on how extensive it was after how many kids you've got too. So there's a lot to consider.
So there's lots to consider. And I see, looking at a lot of social media posts and around the place, there seems to be a lot of pressure. Yes, women do it to themselves, but also I'm hearing sometimes friends, family, partners are saying to women, when are you going to get back to exercise? You know, when are you going to lose that baby weight? Which is so sad when what you've just said is 2 years it can take to recover from having a baby. So that always riles me when I see that. I think, what is the safe time though for a woman to start considering going back to doing exercise?
So with our program, or any program out there specifically, you need to have a 6-week checkup done with your midwife or OB. And until you've got that medical clearance, technically, you should not be going back to exercise unless you've got a certificate that's been signed off earlier at 4 weeks or something. But even still, I just don't recommend it. Go out and walk with your baby in the pram. That's all you need to be doing for exercise in the first 6 weeks. And then think about your pelvic floor training that you can do from within 24 hours after having a baby. And obviously, we just give you some gentle exercises to help work your abdominals. That's all you need to do in the first 6. After the 6, if everything is happy with your OB and you're feeling fine, depending if you've had a Caesar, how's your wound healing, if you've had a vaginal delivery, have your stitches healed, is your bleeding okay? Things like that we still need to talk about, because you may not still be right at 6 weeks to ask someone to go back to exercise. It might be 8 weeks, it could be 10 weeks. But we do encourage women to try and start thinking about exercise again from 6 weeks if they're feeling up to it, 6 to 8 weeks if you've had a Caesar. But you can't put the pressure on the woman directly. And it also comes down to if a woman is breastfeeding, what is their breastfeeding journey like? Do they have a baby who's attached to them, 24 hours a day? They can't even get that baby off them to even think about exercise. Are they really regular feeders every couple of hours? What is mum's sleep like? So it all comes down to a few different dynamics to sometimes why a woman can't come back when she really wants to come back in the earlier stages. And the benefit out of my program now, and thanks to COVID, Lynn, I don't like to say that, we now offer a Zoom program that we never had 12 months ago. So, before, if women couldn't get to a hall to exercise, they got nothing. Now we have live Zoom that run with all our classes, and it's proven to be a huge benefit for my girls, because if they've got that one little window at home where that baby's asleep and mum can exercise in the comfort of her own home and the baby's not interrupted in the bed, then mum goes, oh my God, I can get on, I can do a Zoom and I can still exercise with the girls, and it makes them feel 10,000 times better. So knowing that I've now given that option, it has saved a lot of women from stopping the program, because they know now that they can access me from home. I'm still live there with them. Yes, it's not completely the same because we're not in a community environment with everyone else around you, but the mother hasn't missed out. So yeah, it's a very hard topic and the pressure from some people about get back there and do it. But if a mum is really suffering from postnatal depression too, that's going to be the last thing that she's probably going to think about at that time. And every day is just about trying to get through that day, and not feeling that pressure of, oh, he's telling me I have to go back to exercise. So as much as I would love every woman to come back at 6 weeks, it's not realistic. But what I like to do with my girls is to work with them as much as possible. Like, okay, if you can't be with me, here's an online program. Can you do some education for you? Make sure you're doing your pelvic floor training, just some really simple things that they can be doing, you know, for 20 minutes a day or something. And then when they're ready, they reach out and say, okay, I can do this now, I can come back. So it is, the support factor is huge for those women. And that's the biggest thing we're trying to create with the community group that we have on Facebook, is that we want women to understand it's a safe zone, connect and reach out when you need help, ask questions. And when the timing's right for you, you do it. But I do see a lot of women who are still not putting themselves first, just like we had this conversation before. I just want women to start thinking more about them and saying to their partners, okay, I'm ready to go, but I need you to mind the child 2-3 times a week so I can go and have that 1 hour of time to me. And it's not a chore, it's my time that I want to make myself feel better for me, which is going to make myself feel better for our relationship as well. And, you know, if the partner's going to accept that, that's a positive thing for the relationship. Or if you need to reach out to a friend or something, you do that too. But like, some places will have nannies and that at their facilities. Sometimes you have to organise childcare, but you've got to work out what's best for you at that time too.
That's it. There's no one size fits all.
No, never.
You mentioned that education is important, and tell us about the sort of education that you recommend for women during pregnancy and post-birth.
Sure. So obviously you've got the hospital classes that will always be recommended for pregnancy to get like the labour and birth, a bit of a postnatal breastfeeding classes. They're always great for women to obviously go to. During COVID, obviously that was all shut down for many women. Many women lost all their services during that pregnancy time, and that was really hard for women. With my program, I was always very pregnancy dominant and didn't offer education. And when I had my 2 children, I really thought about it and thought, no, there has to be more to this than just teaching a fitness class and girls walking away and that's all they're getting. So I worked really hard over a couple of years, and I designed an online signature program called Fit for 2 Pro. So that's our educational side on this with Fit for 2. So when my girls join membership programs with me, we have designed a full journey with them from conception through pregnancy, birth preparation, 4th trimester and beyond. So when they join the pregnancy program or conceiving, they get all their pregnancy education in a portal. It takes them through how to safely exercise when they're pregnant, to what's your pelvic floor, why you need to be doing your homework, to talk about general stuff about pregnancy. We've got some health specialists in there as well who talk about acupuncture, Chinese medicine. We do breastfeeding preparation with them, mindset. There's a lot in there that we cover. Then we take the girls through to the birth preparation part from 32 weeks and start talking about what they can do. But most importantly, we also talk about the 4th trimester in the pregnancy program, trying to make women understand what the 4th trimester is really all about. So if you don't know what the 4th trimester is, that's the first 12 weeks after having a baby. And then after that, obviously, we then transition them through to the Mummy Body Love program. So we've got a lot of information that we like to teach them, because education is key at the end of the day, but getting the right education is really important. And the biggest thing with the programs, with me designing them and with help of some of my specialists, is that it's about filling the gaps also that the hospitals don't give. So as I say to the girls, do your hospital classes, perfectly fine. But it's really important that you do the education programs as well, so we can give you those extra tips, tricks, advice, everything that the hospitals are not giving you. Or if you've missed out completely because it's been COVID, then you've got someone to rely back on, that we're still going to give you that education. On top of that, we also designed an easy birth preparation program and an additional 4th trimester program. So if women wanted to go a little bit further, like some women want to do calm birthing, some girls want to do hypnobirthing courses, things like that, we have those little bit extra courses that they can do as well to help prepare themselves with their partner. We've taken them all online now. We're doing workshops at one stage for the easy birth and 4th trimester. Girls can now do that online with their partner and use it as many times as they want until the birth. If they want face-to-face birth prep, we can also do those with our clients or anybody else as well. But can't stress enough that education is truly important, just learning the basics. And even though birth is really important for preparation, it's generally one day only that you have to get through. Then motherhood's the rest of your life. I can't stress the point that the 4th trimester and ongoing, it's so important to learn as much as you can when you're pregnant about the 4th trimester, about what's so important in the first few weeks after having the baby for your healing process, eating. So important that women need to eat so much protein after having a baby to heal their bodies, not relying on toast and just a banana and lollies and quick snacks. Like, we've got to have lots of nutrition that we focus on. So I've even gone to the point in my programs that girls can purchase nutritional programs, which have all been designed by a nutritionist. So if they want to have that little extra because they're not sure what to have, then there's super smoothies, all those healthy meals that they can have, healthy snacks that they can make, put them in the fridge, freeze. We go through a lot of that stuff with them. So yeah, I can't stress that one, fitness is really important, but on top of that, your education is super, super important. And I know that some people don't really want to know anything, but at the end of the day, if you've chosen to get pregnant and have a baby, you're going to have to educate yourself somewhere or somehow to learn how to get through the pregnancy and understand it, and more importantly, tackle motherhood. And every day is a journey. Every day you've got a hiccup, or when your baby's 4 months old, you think, oh my God, I've solved it. I know how it's going to be for the next 6 months, and next week it changes again. And you're like, but I just mastered that. My baby slept and now it doesn't. And then your head goes off again. And that's where education is important. And I know it's frustrating that one book's going to tell you one thing and another book's going to tell you another, but what works for one mum doesn't work for another. And that's the biggest thing I teach my girls as well, that you've got to take it all in, and what may not work today works tomorrow. And you've got tips up your sleeves. You've got things you can ask about. The community groups, you can always ask other mums, I tried this, but it's not working. What worked for you? So yeah, there's heaps. It's never ending. The education doesn't stop. And just because my kids are nearly 6 and they're 8, doesn't stop. Every day is a learning curve. It doesn't matter how old they are.
So true. Yeah, you have to be in a growth mindset when you become 100%. A parent. Yeah. But I think what you're saying is so important, because there seems to be a lot of education and focus too on the birth when you're pregnant. So all sometimes you can see, but then baby's born and all that dies down, and that's where I think the gaps are, and women are being left a little bit more just to find their own way, and sometimes fall through the cracks because there's just not the information out there.
Well, there's not. But also women go to their 6-week checkup and it's just about, how are you? Any problems? Your wound's fine. See you later. Yeah. And
you're on your own.
You're on your own. It's like, what? Is that all it was about? Oh, I was stunned when I went to my first one with my first. Is that all it's about? Okay. Here's your, your script for the pill, and see you later. And hopefully don't see you in 2 years, don't get pregnant in between. So there is a lot that's missed. And this is where, in the education programs, I will specifically say to the girls, okay, this is what your 6 weeks check's going to be about. But if you've got all these questions, you need to be writing them down. All your concerns, you need to take them with you, and you need to be asking all those questions. Or if you need help prior to that 6 week, who do you contact? Here's a list of contacts that you can reach out to people for help if you need that additional support, like a lactation consultant, the maternal and child health hotlines, all those sorts of people that some people go, I didn't even know they even existed. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot out there that women don't know about. And even me, okay, I was a midwife for how many years before I had my first child, but taking that kid home and realizing, oh my God, that's mine and I can't return it. It's like, where's the book that comes with it to tell me what I need to do after 7 days of life? Like, it doesn't matter sometimes what your background knowledge is. You're still learning, oh my God, I've got a human here with me 24 hours a day, and I've got to look after it. And
Well,
and I didn't really realize how hard breastfeeding was until you start the journey yourself and go, okay, this isn't as easy as what I thought it was going to be. And I had many issues for the first 6-7 weeks, and I got through it. And then it was hurdles after hurdles after hurdles with that too. So I totally understand where women come from, but yeah, the more you reach out when you're concerned or go educate yourself, best advice, don't use Google. There's so much rubbish on Google and so much misleading information. You know, join a community of health specialists like we have, where you can ask questions and go to the right people when you need help, because sometimes you can just be led up the alley path and you don't need it, and then you're pulling your hair out even more.
That's right, run around in circles, and that leads to all sorts of problems too.
Correct.
Get confusion and self-doubt. So
correct.
Yeah,
100%. And that's when the P&D starts to kick in even more for mums. And yeah, I can't stress how much support and community network out there is so important for mums, pregnancy or not. Like, it's just, we all need it.
Yeah, we do. And you're right, it's about choosing a qualified health professional to go to. And there's some great well-meaning people out there in this space who you know, are not doing it for any reason than to try and help. But you've got to come from the research, you've got to come from what's the best practice, and going to choose one source that you trust, stick with them, and be conscious in that information that you're following.
Yeah. And I'll be very honest with girls. Like, if research changes, I'll say the research has changed and this is why we do something now. And, you know, years ago when I was training my girls, okay, we did lunges all the time. And until the research came in and said, no, we don't recommend it, specifically after about 20 weeks, because it can increase chances of pelvic instability. Well, I just turned around and said, well, this is the latest research. We now no longer do it.
Yeah.
Not because you couldn't. You can if you really want to. I'm not going to stop you. But because this is what they recognise now, and that's a safety reason, we just don't do it now. But no, and if the girls will come and question me on something I don't know, I'll go and ask. I'll go find the answer for them from someone who's more experienced than me. Even if it's a doctor, I've got to go to work and ask. I'll get them the answer that they need. We're not made to know anything or, you know, everything in this life. Like, we have to rely on other resources to get through our daily lives. And I'm more than happy to sit there and say, I'm not a Google, but I'll go find that answer if I don't know it for you. Definitely.
Well, you're not meant to know it because it does. It changes. As a new study comes out, we realise something new and something different, and we change our practice around that.
That's right.
So that's responsible. So,
yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say, I think that the information you've shared today has just been so great, so valuable. Thank you. Where can women find you if they want to come and do some of your Zoom classes or some more education? How can they find you?
Yep. So my website is www.fitfor2, which is the number 2.com.au. So on there you can find out about our pregnancy and mums programs on there. You can access us face-to-face. So I'm in Melbourne. My main classes are based around South Morang, Mernda and Mill Park. But if that's not close to you, you can obviously access us via Zoom. So you can just fill in a trial form online, or you can contact me direct, which is perfectly fine. And we can have a phone conversation about what your needs are. Obviously, we've got the online education program. So if you purely just want to do online with me because you're doing a fitness program with somebody else, we've got fitfor2pro.com. And again, everything's on my main website. So you can go to the online education area there. But anytime you're welcome to come and have a free chat with me, talk about what's best to suit your needs of where you're up to in the pregnancy or post-birth period, or you may just want some additional advice. More than happy to reach out. And also we've got very supportive community groups on Facebook as well. So on Facebook and Instagram on Fit4 2Pro, Fit4 2.pro. So either way, you can find me quite easily there and come and join our groups. If you just want to hang out with other women, don't even have to be pregnant. You could have had a child 2 years ago. You just want to hang out with other like-minded mums, you're more than welcome to, and get some education support.
Well, I want to thank you because today, as we've been talking, you've been reminding me to do my pelvic floor exercises. Could you tell? No.
Yes, no. Never be able to tell when someone's doing their pelvic floor.
I wasn't doing this.
If I am, then I think you're doing it wrong.
Well, it's just been great, Anita. Thank you. And thanks to everyone. Yeah, it's been great. Such good information. And I'll list your details if you're happy for me to on our Handy Contacts page.
Yes,
Great.
thank you. Appreciate it.
No, it's fantastic. And for any of you who are sitting there still now, I just want to say thank you for joining us. And do keep an eye out for details on our social media pages for more of these interviews with experts and friends, where my aim is to get the right information from the right people to you. So have a great day, and I'll see you all again. And thanks again, Anita.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.